What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets-Haver, and for me, it was another night of a little close calls. I was too locked into THT. I still think that's sort of an aberration. I don't think that game is going to stand that long. And Carmelo took his shots. He just didn't make any of them early, so I couldn't get the flow going out of him. Still came in 13th in the 444, which had a great shot at the Reggie Jackson, Russell Westbrook. Everybody jumping off Westbrook at the after AD was announced in. Once the Lakers were down 20, you sort of know it's going to be a Westbrooky kind of game. And he actually played great. The Knicks held on to win, but still a good night. And we are ready for the Monster Slate. And Sheets, before I let you jump into everything about your night and everything, I'm going to be a little bit frustrated because, as we've talked about for a while, this is my favorite day of the year. This is the day that it's frustrating. There's a lot of stress. You've got family obligations. Nobody's really looking at late lineup stuff and plenty of time to operate and all this stuff. But they didn't make any six-figure first place tournaments tonight that are reasonable, you know what I mean, without Max entering one of those things. And I was like, damn, there's the big 888 or something, or there's the big 555 on one of the sites, and no six figures. That means I have to win 2 tournaments tonight to get the 6 figures, which we have been promising that I'm going to get. You've been promising it. I've been promising it. So unfortunately, that's where my frustration lies. But honestly, I would take half of it. So talk about your night and talk about this slate, your first thoughts.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I mean, I took 2 stands last night, and one of them worked out, one didn't. One of them was I was just going to lock in Carmelo Anthony. The other thing I was going to do was, just to avoid all the nonsense, I was just going to X out all the studs that were questionable. I X'd out AD, I X'd out Luka, I X'd out Jokic, and I just kind of rolled with it. And actually, worked out okay. Even though, LaMelo, wasn't for lack of trying. LaMelo certainly chucked up enough shots, just wasn't happening for him.
Yeah.
Pretty much all the studs busted. So I had a couple of good lineups. I fell asleep. I didn't really think I had much going on. I woke up to a 6th place in the single entry something or other for 1,500. So that made my whole night, actually. So that was pretty good.
Awesome.
Yeah, not bad. And just got a lot going on, a lot of different fronts. So let's go ahead and I'm perfectly well prepared for this big NBA slate. I did so much on the NBA slate that I didn't have enough time to look at the NFL. So we'll do that on Friday.
Yeah.
So what do we got? We got a 100-game slate. Like they say when we're talking about college applications, when your kid wants to, think of going to a big school, the question is, how do you make a big school small, right? So it's the same thing as, how do you make a big slate small? And sometimes you're just going to have to X some games out, and just sometimes you have to take some stands somewhere. And I think I have the games where I want to target. And I think I have some games I want to X out, but let's just see how it goes.
All right, let's do it. Because this is that's the key, what you're saying. And one thing I promise you is, whatever we're going to tell you right now is going to completely change by later today. There's just no way around it. These day before Thanksgiving slates, this time of year, as you saw,
everybody wants to go home.
Yeah, this is not a spot where you're going to expect to see a great amount of anything from him. I mean, just there are going to be some guys who are sitting out tonight. So take some of the value plays, take some of the top plays with a grain of salt, because we really don't know what's going to happen from a health perspective. I just want to make a general point about the NBA, though. Getting those sure points feels more important than ever. I mean, I looked at the big wins last night, and either Westbrook wasn't even on all of them. It was Luka was on a lot of them, because almost like people had to use that salary to get to that place. You need the sure points these days in the NBA. These lower scores are winning. There's a lot of volatility, especially this time of year. So just keep that in mind as we go along through this slate. So,
just for fun, let me pull up that lineup there and see.
It was Kobe MVP. I bet you know that guy from poker, don't you?
No, and see what this was. No. I don't know what you're talking about. But Kobe MVP.
Oh yeah, he was a poker guy I used to play with, but he finished first and second last night and all the big stuff.
Oh really?
Yeah.
No. This is my this is the one that got whatever.
Oh, 6th. Pull up your 6th. Yeah.
6th it was the 3 max entry, actually. So yeah. So even with the Carmelo snowflake, we were able to get there with nothing major on here, right? I mean,
I can't see your screen.
Oh, even better.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's the point, right?
Yeah. So there was nothing. I mean, it was Reggie Jackson at 6%. I guess that's all you need, right?
Yeah. Reggie Jackson, yeah, no, that's perfect. And even like the things like, well, the Norman Powell play even worked out really well.
Yeah.
It's just about the way of you can just, differentiate your lineup enough and get those sure points that you got. And everybody else just did their job. Like what Randall, even, usually that would look like a terrible number for a guy 10K back in our old days. Now hey, we love that number. We love
him and Paul George. I'll be more than happy to take the 49 and the 47 out of these guys.
Absolutely, we'll take it. You know what I mean? This is a different NBA than we have been used to the recent years. So it's going to change as the season goes on, but we'll be on top of that when it comes up. But nice job with that one. That's beautiful. I mean, it's always great to win anyway. So you want to start off with talking about this first game here today?
Yeah, this is almost the next game. Not quite, but I only like something from the Phoenix side. The only thing I like in this game is Booker and Ayton. I really don't have much on the Cleveland side at all, and nothing else from the Phoenix side. You like anything here?
So, I mean, honestly, if Darius Garland is ruled out, I'm going to like a lot of things. That's a big question mark we have to look at. Actually, I won't like a lot of things. I'll like Rubio, and I'll probably talk myself into like maybe trying to get some action in a game stack. Because without Sexton and Garland and Mobley, I mean, there's a lot of usage left over. They bumped up the price on Chetty Osman like to $1 million. They bumped the price on Dean Wade to $1 million. But Rubio and Markkanen would probably become the main plays with maybe a Jared Allen if we wanted to get a game stack. I actually think there is viability in this game. And DeAndre Ayton has looked like a man on fire. And I don't think I'm going to play him on this slate, but I certainly wouldn't fault anybody for doing so. Same with Mikal Bridges. But you're right. Mostly a cross-off game. We just have to see about Garland. Huh. What are your thoughts on the Lakers and Indy? Because I see no ownership on the Lakers side. Again, I think Anthony Davis, I mean, first of all, the guy looks awful. He's getting outplayed. As I keep pointing out, Sheets, he was outplayed again last night by Julius Randle. He gets outplayed basically every time he plays. And it's partly because the Lakers insist on doing this. I think they were minus 20 something with either DeAndre Jordan or Dwight Howard on the court last night. Without them, they were crushing the Knicks. I don't understand why the Lakers insist on doing this, except for the Anthony Davis is too soft. I'm really turning I'm really turning on Anthony Davis, to be honest with you. LeBron James is projected to play at the moment. I know he was suspended. I know that's why he sat out, but it's the night before Thanksgiving. I just keep an eye on this one. Like, don't be 100% sure that everybody plays. I think they want to get a win badly. But what I would say is I think that THT is still the play I would probably go to. Not as good with LeBron. But if anybody sits for the Lakers, THT is going to bump right back in there for me. I'm totally fine overlooking one awful performance. And on the other side, I do like some plays, so I would like to get a little bit of run back. Karis LeVert is questionable. If he plays, I have a ton of interest in Karis LeVert. It's a perfect matchup for him. I know we haven't seen a real game from him in a while, but at 5,500, I think we could take a shot there. The real play, though, is Malcolm Brogdon and Sabonis. Both of those guys should absolutely go nuts, especially if you somehow hear like Anthony Davis is out, which wouldn't shock me, by the way. So I don't know. Anthony Davis looked like a broken man last night. And I guess that's my interest in this game is if we hear something late for the Lakers, and otherwise I like Sabonis and Brogdon regardless.
I don't like anything the Lakers. I think Sabonis is a tremendous play today.
If we finally got Sheets liking Sabonis, do you think he gets more than 4 assists?
I was about to say I hope not, but I guess I hope so. I'm not sure what I want if I play Sabonis, but he's 8,500 against could start be known pretty soon as the Coors Field of fantasy points against the Lakers. I don't know.
Seriously.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but in any case, I think Sabonis is smashed. But I didn't quite have as much, at least the early numbers for Brogdon, but I'll definitely look at it. But Sabonis for me is one of the standouts on the slate today. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I'm hoping people game log watch because with Indiana, they've been a part of 3 consecutive blowouts and one of which they blew the team out. And in that game, I mean, look, like Brogdon was going to get 50 in the last game easily. He played 28 minutes. He would have played 38 minutes. I feel like a walking 40 spot here as long as the game stays close. I totally agree that I like Sabonis and against this Laker team, You can play all of them together. It's really, Julius Randle, if not for the foul trouble last night, probably gets 60 plus. I think you're looking at a similar type of situation for Sabonis, not quite as dominant a player as Randle, but not that far below either. So I like both those guys. If you want to take a long shot, Miles Turner, he's going to early on. He looks like he's going to be owned. I don't see anybody playing him tonight. I'm probably not going to do it, but I think Brogdon and Sabonis make for tremendous plays. I'm going to try and attack these Lakers every time I get a chance. There you guys are. Everybody always talks about how I'm a hometowner and all this stuff. Well, here I am saying play against my Lakers, and if we lose LeVert, Chris Duarte might end up being like a virtual lock. He's 4,100. If LeVert is out, Chris Duarte is the guy I think we want to play. So just keep an eye on what happens with the LeVert situation.
Okay.
Charlotte, Linda, want to go ahead?
Yeah. So, if you really want to, one way to make this slate small, I don't know exactly why this is, but every time Charlotte plays, I have the same kind of thing. Well, they're balanced. Nobody's really popping. For whatever reason, I'm getting all of this stuff going on in this game. Like the Orlando side is pretty logical, right? I mean, with Cole Anthony out, all these guys remain big values and probably big chalk and whatever. But so those guys, Wendell Carter might be the chalkiest player on the slate. I mean, who knows? But Wendell Carter Jr., Bamba, Suggs, Wagner, there's another guy, Terrence Ross, right? All those guys, but all these Charlotte guys are looking good for me today, like LaMelo, Miles Bridges, even Oubre, and then even some of the cheaper ones like Plumlee and even Cody Martin. So who'd have thought maybe on a 100-game slate that I'm going to end up stacking Charlotte, Orlando, but that's where I am right now. I don't know.
I'll tell you, I would have thought it because to me, honestly, this sounds so crazy to say, but this slate is maybe contingent on a lot of things, and one of them may be whether Gary Harris plays or not.
That's weird.
Gary Harris, if he doesn't play, these guys are all. I don't want to play Gary Harris. If he doesn't play, though, these guys are like. I mean, the other night that was one of the worst things I've ever seen. What happened?
That was a disaster.
I did cash in my 555 with a six from Franz Wagner. I'm very happy to go right back to it. And I want Wendell Carter. He's probably my favorite play on the Orlando side. I want one of Suggs, Ross, or Wagner, and maybe two. So I could even be talked into Bamba. So I could see myself playing four guys from Orlando tonight on this massive slate, which seems kind of crazy. If that happens, I'm probably going to want to run back. And as much as they keep raising his price, we talk about wanting sure points. Who's more of a sure thing these days than LaMelo? Like it's crazy. Like on FanDuel, he's like, honestly, on FanDuel, let's be real. Like you're going to have to talk yourself into not playing him against the worst defensive team in the NBA, basically. But look, this guy just puts up 1 million fantasy points every game. It doesn't seem to be shooting dependent at all. The rebounding is incredible. Like literally, fighting for Russ as being the best rebounding guard in the NBA. He's also the assister there. He gets steals, he gets blocks against a team that turns the ball over. I like everything here. I have a sneaky play in this game. All those guys are pretty standard, but my sneaky play would be to maybe take a shot with Plumlee against the size. He's 4,700. The game log is not all that inspiring, but you can't have a better situation for him where he probably will have to play minutes because it's going to be hard for them to get away with Jalen McDaniels, and it's going to be hard for them to get away with Miles Bridges as a center. So it's going to be tough. Like, and I don't think Nick Richards is going to play more than a few minutes. So they're going to, Plumlee's projected to play 27 minutes. He may end up playing 32 minutes. And that's enough to make him into a phenomenal value from being a mediocre value as it was. Cody Martin is probably a little thinner than I want to go, but I think somewhere between Bridges, Hayward, and LaMelo as a run back, one of those three, they all make perfect sense to me. And I actually think that Bridges is the most logical because he can put up a 50 at 7,800, whereas LaMelo is putting it up for you at 10.7. But I love this spot. I will have a ton of exposure to this game. And if I have to rank the Orlando stuff, it would be Wendell Carter Jr. for me, number 1, Terrence Ross, probably number 2, Suggs, number 3, and Wagner, number 4. Maybe I'll revisit that one a little later, but that's where I have it currently rated. I love this game too. This is a game I think we want to stack. Yeah.
So
all right, start us off.
I'm not the slightest bit interested in this next game. This is one game I have 0. Brooklyn and Boston. So I'll just let you talk about this if you have anything.
I mean, I think LaMarcus Aldridge we have to acknowledge it at least. Like, this is not a joke what he's doing. He looks like the old LMA kind of when he plays. I don't know how they're going to play him in the playoffs. But that's a whole separate conversation. The guy, if they give him those 30 minutes, which they've done 2 out of the last 3 games, he's going to put up over 30 fantasy points. He's still a tremendous offensive player that's basically unguardable. I think I'm probably going to stay away from it, but I'm just throwing it out there. It's not the worst idea in the world to give him a shot or two. If Bembry was 3,100, he'd be projecting like everybody. I feel like everybody would be playing him today. Or at least early in the day. I'm not going to do it. I think there's an argument to be made for all the spend ups in this game, but I'm probably just not going to do any of it. The only way I would play anybody is if Jaylen Brown and Josh Richardson are out. I would play Jason Tatum at 10-1.
Hey, I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Since you brought up Bembry, reminded me of something. So the other day when Bembry was at 11 a.m., like a 70% owned chalk value play, by the end of the day, he was like a 15% owned value play, right? Because of stuff that happened. It reminded me of asking you something that happened yesterday. So again, I kind of like just fell off the grid after I put my stuff in last night. I didn't really see what was going on. What happened? So I saw Jokic got ruled out. Why did people just forget to play Jeff Green last night? Did they run out of slots? You know what I mean? Like,
I think that's part of what happened.
Okay.
I said it and I was wrong. I liked JaMychal Green better when Jeff Green was. I mean,
whatever. They didn't play either of them though.
We saw Jeff Green without Jokic put up 1 fantasy point in 32 minutes. I could understand. Yeah, no, you're right. But you're right. But Jeff Green still. I mean, what was he in the big one? I think he was 11%. The small ones, he was like 5%. Yeah, it was weird.
But they didn't play the other guy. I don't think they played JaMychal Green either, though, did they?
No, not really.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't. They probably just everybody, like they said, they didn't.
They did play Gordon and Barton because that's how their salary was allocated after they left stuff. And you know, and look, it was hard to figure out what was going to happen in that game. But I really feel like maybe we should have known that it was trending more towards Luka playing and Jokic not playing. But it was hard to know for sure.
I hope it's not that Luka skateboard I talked about.
What do you mean? What's that?
Remember the wrist injury? I spent 15 minutes of the video yesterday talking about the skateboard injury.
Oh, that no. But Luka played though.
No, that wasn't Luka.
You mean Jokic. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But by the way, and that kept ringing through my head of maybe he's not going to play tonight. You know. But I mean, it ended up being they ended up smashing him anyway. But
did they end up winning? I didn't even notice. So
no. The Portland ended up smashing him. And Barton certainly did his best to try, and it looked like for a minute he was going to have a triple double, and then he just couldn't do anything offensively at the end. But
so I'm sorry to interrupt. So do you like anything with the Boston Brooklyn?
I think the only thing I have any interest in is Marcus Smart. If Marcus Smart and Tatum, if we get any news on Jaylen Brown or Josh Richardson being out, if both of those guys are out, I'm going to be talking about playing a ton of Celtics. But if they're not, I'm not going to. By the way, only a 1-point spread in this game, just kind of an interesting thing to keep an eye on here. Usually I don't like to bet on Brooklyn, but this is a spot where I think I would bet Brooklyn to cover that, or to bet a money line, whatever, bet them with a -1. I think that's a good way to go. All right, Chicago, Houston. You wanna what do you got here for me?
Yeah, I think this is a good secondary game. I'm going to presume, for the purpose of discussion, that Porter's out again. I don't know if that's smart to do, but no, actually he's not even on the injury report. Oh, he's going to play. So maybe there's not much here. I was going to say that maybe you could play Green again. Then there's Tice, Tate, Wood, but I don't know if they're going to show up as such great plays with him in. And then on the Chicago side, I like DeRozan a little bit. I like Levine a little bit. I thought the whole game was pretty secondary. I didn't like exit out or anything like that, but I definitely think it's beneath some of the others. Yeah,
it's interesting because Chicago had the ultimate, just absolutely didn't show up, got massively smoked. By the way, I saw a guy cash a ticket. He had the other night, he had the Bucks minus 31, and he had Indy against Chicago minus 31, which somehow was only 20-1, but he had the parlay of it too. So he got like 1,000 to 1 on his bet. But I don't know how that was only 20 to 1, or it was like 150 to 1 or whatever on his bet. But anyway, that was a pretty wild bet considering Chicago was actually favored in that game and they lost by 35 or something. This depends on, Caruso and Vucevic make some difference, especially like how this game goes. If Caruso and Vucevic play, I feel like Chicago should control this game and win it pretty handily. if they don't play, I think we go back to like, this is a great matchup. And Chicago showed that they're human the other night. And one of Levine, DeRozan, or Lonzo certainly sound good to me if those guys are out, especially if Vucevic is out. I don't really care if Caruso's out as much. But I think on the other side, I do think Deshaun Tate and Jalen Green are both firmly in play, and they'll probably be completely forgotten about on this slate. But Deshaun Tate, like even in these games where they look horrible, he like if they stay somewhat competitive, he's going to get there. And I think this is a better bet for him to stay somewhat competitive. The projection systems love him. Even with Porter Jr. there, it doesn't really affect him that much. He's just going to do all the other things on the court. So I think Deshaun Tate and Jalen Green are in play. We have to see about Vooch. It seems weird, like they wouldn't play Vooch in this spot, right? Like I would imagine he ends up sitting, but he's projected right now. The guy one guy I have to mention, Christian Wood is 7,400 and going to be 0.0% owned. He has been a roller coaster to say the least, but we know he's got ceiling in him. We know if the Bulls decide to try and play their small ball lineup, that Christian Wood can absolutely dominate inside. And that's what the Bulls, my guess is, will try to do. So I'm going to have some interest in Christian Wood and Deshaun Tate, maybe Jalen Green. I actually think that I like the Houston side of this more than I thought I would. Okay. All right, we can move on. Go ahead.
What do you have next?
I've got Toronto, Memphis. How about you?
Yeah, so Toronto, Memphis. I have a couple of ideas over here. So Toronto, unfortunately, I only like one thing. I like Van Vliet a little bit on that side of the ball, but on Memphis, there's a couple of things. I do like Ja. I don't know if he's still over 10K or whatever, but I do. He's close enough. I like him. And then a couple of cheapos at similar positions. I like Brandon Clark at, was he 3,200 or something like that? I mean, it's not much. Yeah. And the guy that just I don't know if we've ever actually smashed at him or keep trying, but Steven Adams remains cheap at 4,400. So I like obviously you can't play both. Not say obviously I wouldn't play both of those guys together.
Yeah, probably not together. Well, they did both get there the other day, but that was keep going anyway. Sorry.
Yeah, so I like both. I like both either of those two guys, and I like Ja and I like Van Vliet.
Yeah, I need to know what happens with Anunoby before I make any decisions on this game. Honestly, Anunoby would be my favorite play in this game. Okay. But if not Anunoby, I think we have a stackable game here. And I mentioned it the other night about how fast Memphis plays, especially when Adams is off the court. They're so quick. Jaren Jackson Jr., man, I played like 15% of him the other night. Man, I wish I would have gone a little heavier. He was incredible. Obviously, hit the game-winning 3 against Utah in that game. Another one of my bets of the day was Memphis to cover the spread. It was a 10.5-point spread, and they won the game. Dylan Brooks is what's going to determine everything for me for Memphis. If Dylan Brooks sits, which I don't think he will, I think he'll play. If he sits, I have plenty of interest in Ja, Jaren Jackson Jr., Brandon Clark. If he plays, I may just pass on the whole thing. But it's a stackable game because you have a good defensive team in Toronto that plays also up to their opponent's pace so far this season. But if Anunoby, like if you get if all the guys who are questionable are out, it brings Fred Van Vliet and Scotty Barnes as really good plays. It makes Kem Birch a terrific value play. And then on the other side, if Dylan Brooks is out, it just gives extra minutes to go around. So that means maybe more Brandon Clark at the 4 or the 3 with Jaren Jackson or with Steven Adams. So this is a wait and see game for me, but I do like some pieces of it. I just want to see what happens. I want to get more clarity on Brooks, and I really want to get some more clarity on Anunoby and Precious, because I do think that could open up the slate and this could become a stackable game. Okay. All right. Do you want to start off with Detroit and Milwaukee?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Just a blowout.
Same shit. Sorry for the language, but with Stewart out, I'll look at the two bigs, Lyles and Garza. And
good call on Lyles, by the way, last night.
Yeah.
I mean, look, 17 fantasy points for a minimum cost guy was good last night, so I'll give you credit on that one.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Curtis Joseph remains good. I mean, he continues to produce, continues to be cheap. And then in Milwaukee, I mean, I don't know, Giannis, good player. How much is he going to play? Who knows? But why not? I mean, I'll take a shot. I mean, so Giannis is a good play. Joseph, Lyles, Garza. I guess if you want to play Giannis, it'd be probably a good idea to play better players from Detroit also. hopefully keep the game close, especially on a 15-game slate. You know what I mean? I know we talked about how the raw points are mattering, but 15 games, you got to do a little bit better than. I'm gonna need to do a little bit better than 50 out of Giannis at his price, I think.
Yeah, maybe on this slate, yeah.
Yeah. So this game's another crap show. I don't know. That's the best I can do for this game.
Well, credit to Detroit for playing 3.5 quarters of awesome basketball against Miami last night. They were in control of that game. Corey Joseph was doing his thing, and like it literally soaked up the usage from Cade. I mean, it's hard when the guy next to you is putting up 9 assists in the game. That means he's getting, Corey Joseph with this usage. I don't know if he's ever had the usage that he had yesterday. Let me see what it was. It was actually it was like 15%, and I don't know. He had 40% the other day. 15%, and he still had 9 assists. That's pretty impressive stuff. I don't think I can get to anything. I think this game is an absolute slaughter. I don't mind if you want to get creative. There's going to be a lot of ways you can go on the slate. If you think the game stays reasonably close, if you want to try either a Giannis, a Holiday, or a Middleton, I think you can play any one of those three, and then you could comfortably play to one of the value guys from Detroit, possibly. Comfortably is a strong word. Either Jeremy Grant or Cade Cunningham. I get the feeling on the back-to-back Detroit ends up sitting somebody here. I just don't know who that's going to be. That'll open up some value for maybe a Diallo, Frank Jackson. I actually think that the right way to play this game, in my opinion, is probably play Frank Jackson and hope for the best, because I actually think he's a better play than Corey Joseph, because factoring in the blowout is a real possibility. And the same goes for Diallo and Josh Jackson. I just don't know if it's the right slate to get involved in all this. So overall, I'm not all that interested, but I think there is some possibility if we hear about anybody being out for Detroit, we can jump all over one of the value plays, especially the ones that would get them run in the blowout, which one of Frank Jackson, Diallo, and Josh Jackson would have. So just throwing that out there. Miami, Minnesota, what do you got for me?
So I like more from this game, just because, whenever you have a Minnesota game, you'd like to play people from the other side. And I just don't have it. I don't really like anything from Miami. And on the Minnesota side, the only guy that's showing up for me now at, whatever time this is now is Cat. So I'm a little disappointed that I don't have more of this game in my radar. For now, that's where I'm at. Where are you?
I think it's really interesting that Minnesota's favored in this game against a team that I think is one of the 3 or 4 best teams in basketball. That's sort of surprising to look at. I am definitely interested in Jimmy Butler revenge. Jimmy Butler is that guy. Okay. Anytime you can find a narrative, you want to play Jimmy Butler. He's expensive. We're not getting 9K Jimmy Butler, and maybe but they're not supposed to wipe the floor with him either. I would expect somebody to sit out for Miami, and I don't think that person is going to be Jimmy Butler. Now, if it's Jimmy Butler, that opens up at whatever things, Tyler Hero becomes a great play, but maybe Kyle Lowry sits on the back-to-back right before Thanksgiving. I could see that happening on the road trip. Makes a lot of sense that he would. But Jimmy Butler going back to Minnesota, I mean, talk about disrespect. They thought this guy was the one bringing down their franchise. They get rid of Jimmy Butler, and look what Jimmy Butler has done since then. I mean, come on. Like, he goes to Philly, he turns Philly into a contender, and then they get rid of him over there. Then he goes to Miami. I mean, I'm telling you, Jimmy Butler does have a long-term memory, and he will remember that stuff. On the other side, for me, the most interesting piece is both Cat and Edwards, I think, are interesting, but I only like Cat if Bam is not going to play. I love his price, and I love that people won't play him because of the Bam perception. But at the same time, the Bam perception is there for a reason. And he's literally built to guard guys like Cat. And Cat is a guy who, if you really get up in his grill, it's not like he's going to come at you harder. He doesn't know what to do sometimes. Now, you could stretch him out and do all those things, but Bam can guard all that stuff. So I think that I end up on Anthony Edwards here more often than not. If Lowry is out, I would like D'Angelo Russell. But I do think one of those guys as a run back with Jimmy is not bad. And I think Patrick Beverley is going to play a ton of minutes, and he'll probably end up getting ejected for fighting with Jimmy Butler at some point during this game. But if he doesn't, 5,100 is probably too cheap for his production. So Beverley and Butler is what I have there. Okay. And a little bit of Edwards. I just need to figure out whether I want to actually commit to that. All right. It is, don't you think this line, this is something we have to pay attention to, guys. We saw it happening last night with the Denver situation as they kept becoming an increasingly greater underdog. Now, the Vegas was wrong about the Laker game about Anthony Davis being out. I think that they counted on him possibly being out, and that's why they kept moving the spread. So just keep an eye. Like it's pretty strange to see Minnesota as a favorite over Miami. I don't care where they're playing. They could be playing literally in Cat's hometown gym. I don't think there's any reason they should be favored over Minnesota, over Miami. So I don't care if Miami announces 3 players are out. I like Miami to win that game, by the way. All right, Utah OKC, Sheets. Why don't you start this one off? Ugliness, right?
Yeah, if anything, Dort on the OKC side. And Utah, if you think this game could be something, Mitchell, I like Mitchell. And then, hey, who's showing up? The Mr. News Flow is Rudy Gay, actually.
Mr. We get the wrong news on him. Yeah.
Do we get the wrong news on him at 3,300? I mean, there are a couple of games that work, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, a monster game, his first game, right? Like,
I just can't imagine on a game slate I'd want to do this.
There's no way I'm going to do it either. And he was, I mean, he made 5 of 6 threes. He played 18 minutes. He put up 30 fantasy points. Oddly, he had 25 and 5, 20 points, 5 boards, and 2 assists. And he still only ended up with 30 fantasy points. But that was because he only played 18 minutes.
I have another bad play on a 15-game slate.
Okay.
You brought him up a couple of slates ago, I think. But one of these days, I don't know exactly when, but one of these days, Hassan Whiteside's going to break the slate.
This might be the day.
Or you think this could be one of them? I don't know. It's got to be a game where, probably with some blowout potential, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, if you really want to make it work, I mean, if it's in the third quarter and he gets his run in the, those 5 minutes or whatever, he causes the blowout to happen, they'll might just leave him right on in there for the fourth,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I promise you this, you get 25 minutes out of Hassan Whiteside somehow, you're going to want it. So I don't know, maybe the slate's too big. Maybe it's a reach, and both those things are accurate. But if you're wrong, what are you getting? 15 minutes, which is not the end of the world either.
Yeah, I actually think his floor is high enough for him to be viable here. He actually does play no matter what, and I mean, there's just nobody to match up with him. He could literally. This could be one of those games where you see Hassan Whiteside with 35 fantasy points in like 10 minutes. I mean, like He has that in his. There was one time I think he was 0.1% point owned, and he had 67 FanDuel points at halftime in a game where he was 0.1% owned. It's just the kind of guy he is. He's fun to play. It's not the right kind of slate, sure, but I do think he's the clever play in this game that it struck me as well. I can't get to anything on OKC, to be honest with you. I probably should. Like, I think Giddey is viable. Utah does play pretty fast. They're going to play Giddey minutes no matter what. Dort is viable. Baisley is viable. I don't know if I'm going to do any of this. I don't know, man. It's tricky. It's a big slate. I do think Dort, somewhere between Dort, Giddey, or Baisley, I think you probably have some business there. But like, it's just not my favorite spot.
Yeah,
where I'm at. All right, do you want to start off the next one?
Yeah. Next one actually could be okay, but not with that many people. Washington, New Orleans. I like the good guys, sort of. So I do like Joval a little bit, and I do like Ingram a little bit. I don't usually like Ingram, and I think Beal's kind of an interesting marginal play too. So if you want to stack this somehow and just play Beal with Joval or Beal with Ingram or Beal with both, I'll give you the go ahead on that. Again, none of them are going to project as like complete smash plays, but maybe you put them all together and you get something good going. Maybe that's one way to go. That's pretty much all I had in this one.
Yeah, a little shout out to Josh Hart for playing great lately. They made his price a little bit higher. It's Washington has been very good defensively this season so far. Probably not going to do it in this matchup, but just a little shout out to Josh Hart playing well. Devontae Graham being there makes a difference for me with my Ingram idea. Like, I've been disgusted by Ingram, to be honest with you. I think when you get into a losing culture, like, it just affects you forever. And I just feel like he never got a fair chance in that Lakers situation, and sort of taught him a lot of really bad habits. Alonzo came out on top, and from that whole thing, but everybody else, I don't know. I just feel like he's never really recovered. And I have a mild amount of interest in a guy that you like to play sometimes, and that's Daniel Gafford here. it's thin, but it's okay to me. I don't think I can play the Brad. It's a great matchup, by the way. But Bradley Beal, talk about not having a real ceiling, but at the same time, sure fantasy points. Like he's going to have 40 fantasy points, probably between 40 and 50. And he's 9,300. I guess he's in play. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like the right slate for it. I do like the Ingram play, even with all that said. Like, I don't know, man. I can't imagine this guy keeps going 1 for a million from the floor. What does, his usage is like, it's still pretty great. It's not the 30% that we've seen from him in the past, but 25 to 30 is pretty good. And I feel like he needs to have a game at some point. They're only 4-point underdogs in this game. And by the way, I like Washington to cover that. But if this game stays reasonably close at all, Ingram, and I like Joe Val, I just feel like he's a little pricey for me on DraftKings and with Ingram there. But on FanDuel, I think at 8K, Joe Val is a really, really good play. That's a big difference in price for me. So I like Joe Val on FanDuel, not on DraftKings. I like Ingram on both sites, but Gulp makes me nervous. Guy keeps costing me money, but I do like him. All right, Atlanta, San Antonio. What do you got?
Yeah, it's like something similar in this to the Washington New Orleans game. I look, neither DeJounte Murray nor Trae Young are in the true metrics like tremendous values or anything like that. But you play them both together. If you don't like playing one bad value, play two bad values. Right? You play them both together, and you get something going between these teams. Maybe you get some ceiling out of both of them. You can win a slate. So I do actually like that idea a little bit today. And then some random values throughout this game. Like Cam Reddish is okay. Pirtle is back. He's okay. Derek White's okay. But I don't know. I kind of attached to this Trae DeJounte thing somehow. I mean, you got to find the value to make it work, but you'd have to imagine that there's going to be value to make it work.
Yeah, I think there will be. Yeah, I have no problem with any of that. I prefer DeJounte over Trae. I mean, you look at DeJounte Murray. I mean, like this guy's put up 59 or more in 3 out of the last 4, and then had the really weird, off game in between. He's awesome, man. He's just an awesome player, and this feels like the kind of frenetic matchup that he can sort of get going in. So I have DeJounte as one of my plays tonight. I would put him very close with Ja as usual. So I actually think that both those guys make a lot of sense. And the only reason I have them ahead of guys like Bradley Beal is just that they've actually shown like a real ceiling. And we know Bradley Beal has it, but it's not like we're talking about an ownership discrepancy between the two. It's harder for me to get to Trae a little bit. He has to play really, really well to get there, I feel like. And he has to be a little more efficient than I want to bet on him being.
Fair enough.
So I just maybe am going to avoid the Trae thing, but I do like the DeJounte Murray call quite a bit. And just keep an eye out with Atlanta. If you hear no Bogdanovich, then Trae becomes better. Reddish is already in play, but Reddish is way in play if Bogdanovich is out. And then even Herter would be in play as well. So just keep an eye out for Atlanta's report. Oh, now we have the real complication, right?
Well, Tobias Harris remains questionable.
Seth Curry.
Sore hip. Seth Curry, questionable. Just on the injury report. No other details. I presume that Steph Curry is back ready to roll. Yeah, he's fine.
You think they'd let Seth play against his brother, right?
It's not a question of letting him. I mean, I'm sure he wants to. I mean, if he's available, I mean, like if he can play, he'll play.
Sure. Fair enough.
Yeah, I imagine Curry has a good game, especially off the dud. I'm sure he's been waiting to get back out there after that performance. Certainly more than happy to X that game off his game log, in which case you have a bunch of 60s. It's really it's pretty freaking good. If Tobias Harris plays, I imagine I'll want to play him. Mm-hmm. Aside from that, we're waiting on Curry and scratches and Miltons and Thibels and and Korkmazes and all that stuff that comes with the Philadelphia news flow. But I think Curry's a perfectly good play.
Yeah, I think this is a very logical game to stack if you get those questionables out.
Okay.
I know it's nerve wracking because you wonder, hey, can Philly hang in the game? They've done a good job without these guys so far this season. I think they would all be firmly in play. It's a really weird matchup to see how Drummond would even stay on the court in this matchup. But at the same time, like, he should get a million rebounds if he is on the court.
Right. I mean, it goes both ways. I mean, I talk about this in coaching. Like, well, how is Drummond going to keep up with the speed or whatever? Okay, how is the other team going to keep up with the size of Drummond? You know what I mean? It's
100%.
So it goes both ways there.
Yeah, I'll play everybody from Philadelphia if these guys are out and take a shot at stacking this game. If we don't have word, I still may take some shots because the game we're about to get to in a minute is also pretty enticing. Looney is probably showing up as too good of a play, so I would probably avoid that situation. I like Looney as a real life player, and he hit 33 fantasy points the other night. That's great. He got the old double-double, I think. No, he didn't even get a double-double. He still had it. But I just think you're asking for a lot from the guy. I don't think I'm going to end up doing that. But I guess if I'm stacking the game, I would consider it. I think Draymond is the guy I'm most interested in this game on the Golden State side. I really like Draymond here. I think this is an excellent triple-double spot for him. It's a weird thing to kind of call out and predict, but I think if you're going to take a weird bet today, that would be a bet I would go for. You're probably getting really good odds on it. I haven't checked him yet. I would bet Draymond also on the over for all of his categories, with the exception of possibly the assists at 7.5 is pretty damn high. So I like that as a little bit. He would be my favorite run back if I was going to stack up the Philly side of it. And I don't mind a little, if Curry does play, even still, like I don't mind a little, and to Harris is out, I don't mind a little Curry action. Curry makes sense. Nobody's going to play him. He's 11-4. He's got a 100 million fantasy point ceiling. Just don't know if this is the ultimate matchup to do it. But I think that stacking up this game makes sense, but we really need to know about the Philly news before we really make any decisions. And we'll probably have some of it early on, at least. They did a good job of getting most of us the stuff early the other day, except for the Seth Curry news, which was a late one.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to start? Go ahead. Portland and San Antonio.
Yeah. So, yeah, why not? Portland, San Antonio. I like, boy, I haven't liked these guys. I like Lillard. I like CJ McCollum. I like both those guys. And then on the Sacramento side, I got guys that don't play too often. So I like Harrison Barnes.
Yep.
I like the other Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
I like Buddy Hield to continue on maybe this new path to success. And Fox is always in play. So yeah, if you don't like any of all that before this game, you could do something like that. Play either Lillard or McCollum or both, and play Fox with Barnes or Fox with Mitchell, Fox with Hield. I know sometimes you don't like to play Fox and Hield, but
no, I like Fox and Hield. I don't like Fox and Halliburton.
Oh, right.
Or Halliburton and Hield. I like.
I think this is this could be it used to be must see TV, so this would be now on what, on the Retro Network, whatever, on Nickelodeon or whatever it is, whatever shows the old time on must see TVs. So this could be like a rerun of the old Portland Sacramento games we used to root for. Maybe it's worth doing again.
Yeah. First of all, my first thought is I like the under in this game. You're the second of a back-to-back for Portland. It seems like an under for me. Sacramento the other night, they still kept that total at like 220 or something. I think the game hit like 195 or something like that. Feels like a little too high of a spread. You do have a guy who coaches fast and with Gentry, but I just don't think I don't see it personally. Beware, someone may sit for Portland here tonight. Just, I don't know if we'll know about it early. If you notice someone downgraded to questionable, I would take that almost as if they're not going to play at all. That's just where I'm at for this one. I don't like playing jump shooters at high prices on back-to-back slates, especially when they just shot like the lights out, which would be McCollum. But I still find myself kind of interested in Dame. Now, Dame has done a better job lately of being much more efficient. I think he's really the play on FanDuel, but I just think that this is the kind of matchup I could see him kind of going off. I felt like that way last night. The problem was that McCollum just never missed, so it couldn't really get the max usage out of him. But I would be interested in Dame here, and I love Barnes on the other side. I love Halliburton, and I love Hield. Now I'm not going to play all three of those guys together, but I will be mixing them in my lineups. And I think this is a great matchup for Buddy Hield. Halliburton's going to break a slate soon. And this seems like a reasonable candidate for that to happen. I was really disappointed that Sacramento made a coaching change and then they ran their rotations the way they did the other night. Buddy Hield coming off and on for the last 3 minutes for offense and defense was just like, it's like not even in the playoffs, it's like over the top. Like it just was like, I just thought it was really, really poor coaching. And I think it cost the team because you get nobody can have a flow when you're subbing that often. And they keep doing this thing with Rashawn Holmes, where I thought he was going to be the beneficiary and start playing 35 minutes after the new coach. And they really didn't play him enough minutes the other night. And he was awesome when he played. He played 27 minutes. Like he should have played 35 in that game. And he's able to do it now. He's not the same old Rashawn Holmes that only played 20 minutes. So this game does, the high total, I still like it to hit the under, but I still think it's a good enough total. I don't think I can get to Davion Mitchell. I really don't know what they're going to do with him. They did play him a lot of minutes the other night, which is a little bit encouraging, but I just think there's going to be better value on this slate. So I'm stuck with the Barnes, Halliburton, Hield range, trying to get 40 out of one of those guys. And then you try to get the 55 to 65 from Dame. But I don't know if I can even do the Dame on this slate, to be honest with you. I just think there's better plays out there. I think most of my interest is sadly on the Sacramento side here. And I don't have a run back that I feel incredible about. Norman Powell may be my favorite play there, and that doesn't feel all that exciting. So
I have a couple of comments on what you said. I don't know, maybe we'll just spitball this for a minute.
Yeah.
Interesting. So first of all, with respect to the Hield, being subbed in and out for offense, defense, what I would take that as aside from the fact that coach, new coach trying to overcoach maybe a little bit, is you could look at it almost as a positive for his fantasy production, because if he's going to be really looked at as like the offense only guy, you know what I mean, like the offense guy, then maybe he's the type of guy also that a coach would be more inclined to just let rolling when he's making his shots. He's being looked at as kind of an offensive guy. So that's one thing. The other thing,
they did that with him, by the way, the other night. He started the second half, which he didn't, which was weird. And he never does that. So that was an interesting thing to keep an eye out for with him. I actually like him less if he starts, but just sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's all right. And the other thing was that, maybe we could think about this further, but what I used to think about on back-to-backs was this, with respect to fantasy, it matters because, you might have minutes problems and stuff like that on back-to-backs. But when it comes to liking unders or overs based on back-to-backs, I always believed that, and again, I never tested this out with a database and stuff like this. I always believe that on back-to-backs, the thing that disappears first if a team is tired is the defense, and not as much like the scoring. I felt as though that on back-to-backs we'd actually be more inclined for the game to score high, just because a team, when you're tired, the last thing you want to do is play defense. You'll find a way to find the energy to shoot the ball, but not really to play defense, and that's the first thing that goes. So I don't know if that's true or accurate. Or I'm sure the database can come up with an answer to this.
Historically, I can tell you that it's been the other way. I mean, you're right about maybe the defense giving up, but in general, teams tend to be in lower scoring games on back-to-backs. It's just it's been happening over the last few years. I don't have any exact numbers in front of me, but go ahead. But I hear your point though.
Yeah, so that was all I was going to say. Is I'm just not even sure what the answer was. But I love the slate's very challenging. The slate's, it's you thought a 4-game slate with news pending was tough. I mean, this is a 15-game slate, but and this one you don't even know what the news pending is,
Right.
Like you said, I mean, a lot of players wouldn't mind just telling his team, listen, appreciate it. I want to get on a plane home for Thanksgiving. A lot of guys just, it's very, very possible that just random guys just get freaking ruled out of nowhere. So, but I think they're good plays throughout. I think it's a very challenging slate, and I think they should offer 6 figures to win this slate. If you want to know the truth, I think it's harder. I think if you win the slate outright, you should win more than 50,000. What do you think about that?
I agree with you. And I had this one thing just pop in my head that I wasn't on before, and I think I need to go back to it. I think LeBron James is a tremendous play tonight.
Okay.
Talk about the Lakers needing a win, all this stuff, and we didn't really get into all that stuff. But I just with all those guys, I always overlook them. I really like LeBron tonight, and I think that he's projected to play 33 minutes. I think maybe he plays 40 minutes and puts up like a triple double with 40 real life points. Like I really think that he's a tremendous play, and I don't usually feel that way. I always say this about LeBron: if I like LeBron, usually I'm on to something with that. So keep an eye out for LeBron as a great play on this slate. I don't know. It just makes too much sense to me. And they want to go into this, the holiday with a win. They've been losing. They really need to win some games. He had the suspension. You have Indiana, who doesn't play defense. It's like all the things are aligning for it to feel like a LeBron kind of slate, which is not usually how I feel, especially on big slates with LeBron. But I think, especially at 1% ownership or whatever he'll be, I think he's a tremendous play. And I didn't make my list of my favorite plays on the slate. I do have LeBron as one of the spend ups I like. And it doesn't hurt that I love Sabonis and Brogdon on the other side of that game, and potentially Duarte if we get no. And I think you could play all three of them with LeBron. I really do. I think that's these teams. This Laker-Indiana game is the only game that off the top looks like I think it's going to hit the over. I feel like every other game I could make a really good case for the under. But there are four really good stackable games to me tonight. I would say the Lakers or actually five. The Lakers and Indiana. Especially if we get no Levert. I think that Toronto, Memphis, Philadelphia, Golden State, depending on who's healthy, Sacramento, Portland, and Charlotte, Orlando. My favorite overall play: Sabonis, Brogdon, Ingram, LeBron, Fred VanVleet, Bridges, one of Suggs, Rosser, Wagner, Carter Jr., Barnes, Harrison Barnes, and Scotty Barnes if we lose Noah and Anunoby. I think I mentioned VanVleet, Jimmy Butler. I love the revenge narrative there. Brandon Ingram, DeJounte Murray, Halliburton, Fox, Draymond, and then we're going to have to figure in what value we're going to use, which I'm sure we'll have plenty to choose from very shortly.
There is a 14-game slate or whatever it is on the NBA tonight. There's a 14-game slate in hockey tonight. There is no NBA tomorrow, by the way. No NBA Thanksgiving, no hockey Thanksgiving. Just the 6 slates, the 4 slates, the 3-game slate and 3 showdowns tomorrow and Thanksgiving, and then and this weekend there's no MMA and no PGA, and there's a PGA Europe which I'm not going to be covering, and there's no NASCAR for a couple of months. So this weekend is going to be dedicated to football. So Friday we'll do probably a 3-way video with Rhodey or something like that.
Yep.
When we go over the Sunday slate, we'll talk about how Bobby won the Thanksgiving Day slate and how Rhodey would have gotten there if it weren't for a 3x3 he didn't do at the end. And then we'll talk about how Rhodey, tells me that if I played my single entry in the Monster, I would have gotten 4th or something like that. So we'll be ready for that on Friday. And nice big day today, followed by a compact weekend with still a lot of money out there. So encourage you to tune in.
Yep. Well, good luck to everybody out there. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thanks again for being a part of True DFS, and we really love having you guys here. Anyway, good luck, Sheets. I hope you have a great time with the family. Is everybody in town? Is Ashley and Matt and everybody there?
Everybody's coming in, and I'll see you guys. I'm good for tonight. 6 o'clock.
Oh, awesome. Oh, great. I'll see you at 6 Eastern then.
See you then.
All right. Good luck, everybody.